This is start time.
Saturdays, all music, all day. Reggae Hour, K-Fox Night.
Looking for the perfect beat? Yeah, it's the beat of the Fox.
Fresh Juice, D-Money in the group.
Myself, D-Money. Nice Size Patron.
Taylor Hart.
Resistencia, the Northwest Rap Gang.
DJ Medina, Chad Cheddar, Northwest Rap Gang.
Sergio Lacour's Love Line.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio LaCour. Go to the phone line. Tell her who we talking.
Sea Monster Radio, Mo Jams. It's your jam.
We're live. Welcome to Mojo Mondays. This is KZ of KZ Music Media. Caller Goddess for Mojo Mondays.
Just my opinion. God is inspiration all day and all night. Saturdays on Rainier Avenue Radio App.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all jazz in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world. Do you have an idea for a community project in your neighborhood? You could be eligible for up to $50,000 in funding through the City of Seattle's Neighborhood Matching Fund. Grants are awarded to grassroots projects that build stronger communities, with an emphasis on projects led by impacting Black, Indigenous, and people of color BIPOC communities. To learn more about the Neighborhood Matching Fund or to see if your project meets the criteria, visit seattle.gov/neighborhoods/NMF.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.RainierAvenueRadio.world. Recruiting officials, and we'll chat about that. But Mick, welcome back. Great to see you. Thanks so much for taking some time to be with us today as you are in the middle of tournament season right now.
Yep, golf kicked off today. We'll do that through the week, and then we'll go everything this weekend. So everything from track to tennis to fast pitch to baseball, you name it, we got it going. So.
And then those football coaches across the state of Washington next week, they'll get started.
Yeah, I mean, football season starts in a week.
Already excited about that. Mick, tell us, let's look at that. We have summertime coming up. We have graduations at the schools. We have a lot of kids who are going to be off for the next 2.5 months before they open up their school doors again. What does the WIAA do in the summertime?
So it's our chance to get ready for the year. I mean, honestly, once we get into the thick of the season, we don't have a lot of project time. So one is I ask our staff, they got to take at least 2 or 3 weeks in July and just disappear because the schools are off. So our emails aren't filling up every day. So we're not having to take care of our ADs and coaches and students on a daily basis. So it gives them a chance to kind of decompress after the season. I mean, a lot of people don't realize our staff, no different than an athletic director, no different than a coach, works about half the weekends during the year, at least one day. For either we have a coaches meeting that we go attend, we're putting on a tournament, we have a board meeting on a Sunday. So our staff, they need some time to re-energize just like anybody else. So that's a big part of July. But June is a huge project for us. And so we have a staff member leaving. BJ Kuntz is going to go be the district athletic director of Renton School District.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a big loss for us. You know, BJ is awesome. And, you know, it's a good get for them. And puts her in a great situation. She's just down the street, so we're in the midst of getting ready to hire and reorganize, and so we have to do that. We're going to hire an admin assistant. So if there's anybody out there that has been like an office manager, especially somebody who's worked in schools that's interested in continuing to work, we're hiring those positions. So we're going to do that in June, onboard those folks through July. And then when we hit August, we're 90 miles an hour. We're all over the state meeting with our ADs and getting the seasons kicked off. So July is catch your breath. June is projects. July, catch your breath. August, let's do it.
And let's just, it's kind of on that one point, BJ came down and met with us last fall, and what a wonderful catch for the Renton School District. She's someone who has the experience, really passionate about athletics, and will help really elevate athletics in the Renton School District. How exciting is that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and they have great facilities. So for us, hopefully, we continue. Damien, you owe us for stealing her. But it's a really good get for them and help, bring some structure and hopefully provide some continuity in that position. They've had 3 ADs now. She'll be the third one in 3 years. So she's a doer. So she makes good things happen.
Mick, you touched on it. Of all of the administrators in education, the athletic directors / athletic administrators / coaches, and this has been documented over the last several years, don't seem to be taking any time off. There's not a moment to breathe. And you're in regards to what I guess is in the administrative spectrum of work-life balance. You're saying, hey, take 3 weeks off and get the heck out of here.
Yeah. I mean, we've been very intentional. I've been trying to get them to use their vacation. We have staff members, they don't get a ton of vacation time. And during the year, it's just too hard to take it because they feel obligated to serve. And so, so my directive to them is at a minimum, a 2-week continuous to decompress, ideally 3 weeks. The problem is this thing, right? I mean, this is our office. This is our office right here. We can do anything we need to on here. So you never get away from it. But at least they can hopefully do it with their feet up and lemonade in their hand. So
he's Mick Hoffman. He is the executive director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. And this is WIAA Primetime on our community radio station, your community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio World, where we discuss issues that impact sports and our kids in the community. And Mick is getting ready to see the 2022-23 academic year come to an end, and we're talking about what the WIAA does in the summertime, talking about the professional development of teachers. There's curriculum and different things that teachers work on during the summer. From a sheer professional standpoint, what type of package did you put together for the athletic administrators? Yeah,
a bunch, actually. We've really tried to partner with WASA, which is the Washington Secondary Schools Athletic Director Association. We help finance a mentor programming for them, and then what we're trying to do is help with the new ADs. I mean, it's literally fire hose training, and so we do a monthly. Again, this is a BJ idea. A monthly check-in on Zoom with them, saying, "Hey, from a WI perspective, here's things that you need to be doing." So, for example, this month, getting ready for state tournaments. If you're going to state tournaments, here's things you need to pay attention to. This is what you need to start getting ready for your out-of-season summer projects, right? To keep them out of trouble, make sure kids are safe. Here's what heat exhaustion looks like. Here's where you can get some information. Here's how you use your wet bulb globes that we got the grant for. So we really focus on new ADs in that, and then at the same time we're continuing that work that BJ came and talked to you about coaches education. So we're continuing to build that out as well, and hopefully a lot of our ADs will go through it so they understand it and have the value of it, and then they can walk with their new coaches as well. So.
When does scheduling get done? For those who don't know, when did we work on schedules for, let's say, fall sports, winter sports? Does any of that happen in the summertime? Or
it depends on the cycle. So, like right now, this was the first year of a 2-year cycle. So most of the schedules from this year will flip for next year, home and aways. So they have a lot of their scheduling done already, which is nice. Our scheduling for tournaments, we're scheduled 7 years out as far as state dates, you can go in our handbook, WIAA.com, and hit handbook under resources and go to the back of that thing, and you'll find when the state tournaments are for 7 years. ADs will have most of their scheduling done for next year. And then the big one will be, we're finishing our classification count in the winter. And so they'll be spending a ton of time next year developing their new leagues or solidifying their leagues, and then building out schedules for the 2 years after that, potentially 4 years.
Give a plug for WIAA Live, the app. I've been using it this last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you're obviously a fan of high school sports. Either that or you're just looking for something to get me on. So, but WIAA Live, you can track league tournaments, district tournaments, all in one spot. I think our membership now on that's like 75,000, and it's super easy to use. We deploy people to all our state events to update it, so that's getting updated on a regular basis. So if you can't be at an event or you choose to go to an event and you want to know what's going on at another event while you're sitting up there watching some O'Day baseball and you want to know what's going on in track, you can get on that thing and you can keep track of heats and events. So yeah, it's an awesome tool, and that's an Andy Knapp. I know you met him the other day, and Andy Knapp and Casey Johnson. I mean, they developed that thing with our partners in Playfly, and it's an amazing tool.
That is on your Google Play and Apple stores, or Google Play Store or Apple Store, whatever those are that you download the apps on. I've got too many downloaded on my phone, and my son and daughter download even more. But that's one you definitely want to have in a prominent place because it can keep you up to date with all of the scores in the state of Washington.
And the price?
Yeah, and the price is huge. You really have to dig into your pocket. It's free.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do that. The creativity of your staff, obviously you want to keep them, and when great opportunities come along, and DJ gets a great opportunity. But the development of staff, do you guys get together? Do you do anything kind of fun? Do you have an opportunity just to connect and share and work together?
Yep, we do a annual Christmas. It's a group cooking. So we eat our own food, so we've all made it through that. But a few weeks ago, we had a partner donate some Top Golf. So we went to Top Golf at the end of the day and beat the ball around a little bit and had some snacks. So yeah, so we try to do something at least quarterly as a staff. We're small, so we have a lot of fun in our office. I mean, you know, as much stuff and emotion as we deal with, we're still dealing with sports and activities. I mean, my grandson thinks I have the greatest job in the world. I said, well, most days it's pretty good. And like this weekend, so, you know, typically people are going to be with their families and all that. I get to go on the road and watch sports. So if you're going to be missing family stuff to do work, you might as well go watch. We're going to watch kids play. I mean, we have phenomenal athletes and performances that we get to witness. So yeah, it's a great opportunity.
This is Mick Hoffman, the Executive Director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. WIAA, the show where we bring you the issues going on out of Renton, where they have the WIAA headquarters. That's a unique building if you haven't been there. I would go down there when Mr. Colbreeze would call me in, and we would sit down and discuss some issues going on up at Highline High School and the connection there. But what a great place to be at where you guys are located, where you guys are right in the mix there in Renton, and a great leader with great staff, and certainly an opportunity for us to promote athletics on your community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio .world. Mick, tell us a little bit about the plans for this summer. What are you guys looking forward to in the opening of 2023, and how will you guys kind of build your way this summer?
Yeah, so we have a big summer in our state events. So we're going to have our committees are all making the recommendations to take to our board on our board meetings June 4th on Sunday. And so we're going to present to them different concepts around tournaments. So we've talked about with basketball from Final Four to 16 team to 32 team, you name it. So to get a feel for what they think are viable options, and then we will put those out this summer to all the entities, the Tacoma Dome. So like Tacoma Dome's coming in next week to meet, and the arenas, whether they're down in Kent or up in Everett or Spokane, to get those bids. So we'll be soliciting and fielding questions on the bids all summer, and collect those in August, and then get them in front of our board in September and make decisions. So that's huge. I mean, football, right? Andy Barnes, who you've had a chance to meet, that's in charge of both basketball and football, which is almost unheard of in this country. But he, we've been talking to the University of Washington again to see where they're at with this, see how we can work together. Can we make this work? So we'll be pulling all that together over the course of the summer after they take their 2 to 3 weeks family time. But we'll do a lot of that in June. I mean, that's mostly June work because a lot of the schools get out on the east side here the first week of June. And then the west side will slow down, and athletics are basically shut down other springs or the summer activities. So we have about 3 good weeks of grinded in June, and then we get to disappear for 3 weeks.
To make change, obviously, you have to be productive in terms of how you structure things forward, but also you have to take a look at what happened in the prior year.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you took a look at this year, and things that you will approach a staff on that you feel that number one, that were successful, and things that you think can be improved?
Yeah, we rolled out Final Forums as our membership base, and that's gone really well. So we're going to try to utilize that a little bit more to keep our AEDs on a single platform. We're going to roll out a new website. It's going to be a more interactive website. Will come out over the summer, which is another big project that Casey and Andy Knapp are on. So getting people used to finding information on there. It's going to be way more interactive. You're going to actually be able to engage with it mobily, like we're going to be actual 21st century technology. It's a real concept. Yeah, it's a concept. So we have a lot of that. So that's gone really well. Our tournaments have gone really well. Our attendance has been good. And so in our reshuffle with BJ leaving, we're going to shift some duties around, and we're going to free Andy Knapp up a little bit to do more promotion of our events. So the last thing we want is, somebody to watch this next week and go, man, I should have went to soccer. I didn't know it was in Renton. Like, we want to make sure everybody knows. And we're working with our media partners and promoting, helping people find tickets online. So just continuing to evolve. We don't have to really blow anything up. We don't have to change anything. We've done a lot of that the first 4 years in the office. So now we're looking at just kind of growing and tweaking what we're doing.
You and I've talked about this before as well, Mick. There's a center of the universe in the state of Washington. It seems like everything revolves around Seattle, King County, and that's where the population is. In regards to athletics throughout the state of Washington, indeed, there are schools throughout the state of Washington.
Right.
I'm sure you receive probably some flack that there would like to be more opportunities for things to do in Eastern Washington and obviously in Southwestern Washington, where you're from, and in the northern part of the state. Is summertime a chance for you to kind of get out and go to some of those folks and sit down and have conversations, and how do you structure those conversations to make sure that the WIAA is expanding its reach throughout the entire state of Washington?
Yeah, that's actually what I do most of the time during the year, is I'm on the road going out meeting with individuals throughout the state. So, because a lot of them are taking their vacation too at that time. So July is a hard time to really connect. So for example, I'll be over with Legends Hotel and Casino in June again, talking about what we did with our BIPOC AD. So I don't know if we've even talked about this, but with their support of them, we talk about diversifying our membership and our leadership to reflect the students we serve. And so we have to be intentional. So we went to them and we got some funding, and we are able to scholarship interested current BIPOC ADs or potential BIPOC ADs. So 2 years ago at the state AD conference, we identified 4 BIPOC ADs. And actually Johnny Lee, who's at Silas High School, and Albertus Brooks, who was at Seattle Schools at the time, we met after that and we said, okay, we got to do better. Like, what can we do? So we put together a plan. They've really expanded that group. So we had 4 the first year. Last year with funding that we're able to scholarship. So some of the schools weren't paying for the cost to go to it. We got 11. So not a big number, but triple. And then this year we had 26. Yeah, so it's working. And so we're going to continue to expand that work. We're hoping exponentially now, just through networking, that more people will be aware we're paying for classes so they can get their professional certification in athletic administration through the NIAAA. Help, again, sponsor them to get over there. for the schools that won't support it. So we're seeing a huge increase. So that has been statewide group. I mean, we have some that are some Orthodox Jewish schools, to Seattle schools, to Tacoma schools, you name it. Some of our tribal schools we've been able to reach out to. So yeah, my job is to continue to go out and meet people and bring the association to them and bring people together. So we do that year round. That's a year round project.
Mick, what can we do to get more kids in our communities and who are in our high schools and enrolled in their high schools? What can we do in working with athletic directors to get more youth involved in athletics, try a sport, and go out for sport, and maybe they feel uncomfortable and they're sitting off at the sideline. What can we do to get them involved?
Yeah, back in school, we used to run PE units that aligned with the sports season, so kids could do it in advance. So if gymnastics was coming up, I remember in PE there'd be a gymnastics unit, and so kids could go try it. It was a girls' sport at the time, but the boys didn't mind being in the class, and so you go try it and then the PE teacher, who was probably connected to the gymnastics coach, if not the gymnastics coach, would encourage those kids to come out. So it wasn't such a big leap of faith of going out for this team. And so I think we need to find a way just internally to offer more opportunities. The trouble is budget cuts. ADs are being asked to do more with less time, right? Go back to the classroom, be an assistant principal and an AD. So it really cuts down on what they can do. At the same time, funding for an intramural program or something after school. That's why when I get the chance to get in front of superintendents and school directors, we talk about the money out of their budget for these education-based activities is an investment. It is not an expense. Take it off your expense sheet. It's an investment. It's the best retention prevention program you run. When do most juvenile crimes, teen pregnancies, drug use happen? 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Right? Statistics bear that out. Why is that? Because that's the time where traditional working families are working and there's a gap in time. So let's occupy students' time with something healthy. And guess what? They may find out they have an aptitude for it or an interest. We can make more no-cut situations. Fine, you don't get to make Garfield's varsity girls basketball team. You don't even make the JV or freshman team. But we got this intramural team, right? And we have 3 teams, and we're going to play. And maybe we do it co-ed, we mix, and kids get to play after school in some capacity. Right now, I know facilities are a challenge, but there's ways of working that in before school, after school. Make it a 3-on-3 league. Like, we have to be innovative with it. We don't have to have a 5-on-5 intramural league. We can do a 3-on-3 intramural league and do that. Get staff involved in playing in it. Fort Vancouver High School did that for a while. They do it in the spring. So in the spring, kids who got cut, kids who played basketball, and staff, they would form these 3-on-3 teams. They played a competition through the whole spring, ended up having a community event where they had a team championship. A friend of mine, Bill Oman, helped lead that thing. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, but we got to be creative, but you have to have people able and willing to put in the time. And we have to find a way to compensate people for that.
Innovation is such a huge thing. And also, like you said, getting more people, just a few more dollars in their pocket.
Yeah, 100%. Honor their time.
And that's a way that we can look at putting more and more youth. Something I hope that all school districts and I hope school leaders think about is ways that we can get some of these young people who, like you said, they're leaving the school building, not necessarily to go out and run crazy in the community, but boy, it would be nice to have those kids involved in something in the school.
Yeah. We need to fill their time, right? And we'll have them around healthy adults doing fun things that maybe turns into better opportunities for them down the road. And whether it's sports or esports or drama or music or art, I mean, those are things we should do. We talk about schools being community centers, that 2 to 5 time. We can't just rely on the Boys and Girls Club and that they can't serve the entire need. Like, we can do things in our schools. We know public school attendance overall, FTE, is going down. Mm-hmm. More people are sliding to the private sector. So if people are seeing value in the public school beyond the classroom, right now some people want to be a part of that community, and maybe we can stem the tide, which translates to dollars for school districts as well.
Mick Hoffman, the executive director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, on your community radio station, our community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio World, and our weekly discussion of what goes on and what is going on in sports here in the state of Washington. and through the eyes of the executive director of the WIAA. Mick, graduation's coming up. Kids throughout the state of Washington had the wonderful experience to participate in sports. Always exciting time for the students and the parents. Tell us some of your memories about what you remember. You and me both. It's been a while, but about what you remember about graduation and what you remember about your participation in athletics.
Yeah, I mean, one is it's just such a huge, for self, a sense of accomplishment. I mean, people don't realize how hard it is, and I didn't realize. Looking at my own experience, I mean, school was kind of easy for me. It was the other stuff that was hard to navigate. But some of our kids who are graduating, their stories, when I got into teaching and coaching and administration, and you hear some of those stories of what students have overcome and how adults, whether in the community or in the school or family, have wrapped around them. I mean, those are truly inspirational stories. And there's so much data that shows the value of a high school education over the course of a lifetime, just in opportunities that are presented to people. So one, it needs to be, we call it commencement, right? It's like the beginning of something. It's not the end of something. And so the other part is they're going out in this big bad world. We don't know what is there, but if we look at it with abundance thinking, I mean, there's a world of opportunities. I never in my life would have guessed I'd be here being with the Honorable Juan Cotto, being interviewed about the WIAA. Like, that was never on my radar when I dropped out of college. So
that's the equivalent of purgatory, but that's a whole other situation.
So, yeah, I think it's awesome. It's a great time to celebrate kids and families that have made it and then get ready for that next step.
What advice would you give BJ Coons, who's going to the Renton Public Schools?
We talked this morning. Go slow to go fast. Don't try to do it all in 6 weeks. Give yourself some time. So the work that she will do, the level of detail she will bring, the programming she'll create, she's just going to see and not to burn herself out. I think that's the biggest issue. Is it's a different setting. You got to get established in that community, and people are going to absolutely love her.
What you said that this is their third district AD in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
What are the situations or what are the reasons that you would have such turnover?
I'm not sure. I don't really know enough about it. I've met Damien. Damien's
Mm-hmm.
great. So I would, and he's from Renton. So, he's vested in that community. So there's a huge buy-in to the community. So I'm not sure. I know when Brian left, he got the job out at Sumner. He lives out that way. And so he went to Sumner Bonnie Lake after being there a long time. He was there a long time. And then Talia was just there, and she took an opportunity with the city. I'm not sure. I don't know the whys or the whats of that. But she's still in the community. And BJ, BJ will put in her time. She's still a young lady, and she has a ton of energy and motivation. So, I'm not exactly sure. I know a lot of times there's so many jobs. I mean, when I first started coaching, you waited to get a freshman job. Now we're hiring people in the varsity coaching who haven't even coached before. And so same thing with ADs. When my daughter just got named an athletic director at a school in Southwest Washington.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's young. And so, they're looking, she's going to be good, but there's a steep learning curve. And so things are happening so fast now for people that I think that's just what we deal with in all positions. I don't think it matters how good the position is. People are moving. It's old people like me that like to kind of settle in a little bit and have a familiar setting. So, but yeah, I think it's just part of the world we live in. And, luckily they grabbed one that's going to be great. And again, Renton, I mean, their facilities, their schools, the community. I love downtown Renton. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
It's a great place. So,
What was the first district that you were at?
Vancouver.
What was the biggest thing you learned from that experience?
I learned to make sure, take your time to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I had a professor when I went through my admin class, Gay Selby, and I hated classes, right? I mean, just like jumping hoops, busy work. But she gave us 2 points of advice I use every single day, and I try not to ever forget. As number one, as the administrator or person responsible, you're the last person to do the right thing for a kid. So when I was an athletic director, you get coaches mad at a player or teacher's mad at a student, you're doing discipline, but you still are the last person to do right by that child because that's the authority that you've been given in that position. So always have lived by that. So the adults can be mad at you. You do what's right for kids. The second thing is, and this helps a lot in athletic director work, is you often have way more time to make a decision than you feel. You get people pressuring you, wanting you to make a decision right now because they think you're leaning their way, but you usually have more time to make, unless it's a true life or death or imminent danger for somebody. Take your time to make a decision, sit back, because I didn't do that one time, and I feel guilty as heck to this day. Young lady qualified as an alternate to the state golf tournament. Our budgets were tight. It's like, we don't send alternates to state. She could have played. The girl got sick, she could have played. This young lady missed out on a state tournament because we were worried about a couple $1,000s, right? And I apologized profusely to her family, and I just said, I can't do anything to change this for your daughter. All I can tell you is it'll never happen to another kid that I'm responsible for. So, you know, those kinds of things stick with you forever. So,
Mick Hoffman, Juan Cotto, WIAA Primetime. We'll be back in 3 minutes to talk about referees.
Here with the Rainier Avenue Radio Traffic Update. You can listen to us in your car 24/7 anytime by downloading the free TuneIn app. Once you do, search Rainier Avenue Radio. And remember, do not curse out your fellow drivers. This has been your Rainier Avenue Radio Traffic Update.
Oh, my man. You know, everybody goes through a storm sometimes.
God is. And Rainier Avenue Radio.world have a new address. We're now located at 4916 Rainier Avenue South in Columbia City, 98118. God is still loving on your community, being a blessing and meeting the needs of the people. Don't miss any of our amazing shows. Your favorite community radio station. Tune in and come on down and get some free food and let us continue to love on you. Don't forget to tune in. See you soon for free food and free entertainment with God Is and Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
What's going on, world? It's your boy OG Mambo.
And your guy D Money. Join us along with Pint Size Patron and ID Yourself
Here on Fresh Juice at Rainier Avenue Radio.
every Wednesday hump day from 9 to 11 Pacific.
Get exclusive interviews from your favorite artists, all the hottest music, and updates on what we got going on in the world.
That's every Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. on Seattle's Rainier Avenue Radio.
Wash your hands, don't touch your face, wipe things down, clean up your space. When you cough and sneeze, do responsibly. If you feel you're getting ill, isolate at home and chill. No, you're not alone. Please pick up your phone and call 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health Community Radio Station will provide you with more information. Say Rainier Avenue Radio. Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Juan Cotto touching bases with you with Mick Hoffman. He is the executive director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. I am the radio voice of Metro League Baseball and other activities on your community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio, where we are right in the middle of 2023. And as I joke each week, I mean, so many wonderful things coming up. If you like sports, we have it. If you like music, a variety of different music, if you like talk shows and personalities, oh, we have a plethora of that. And of course, for many of you, if you like politics, we have that too. It's going to be a political year this year. I believe there are 7 city council races up here in the city of Seattle. That is going to engender some conversation and have people sitting down and talking politics. And maybe I'll even host some of those shows if Tony B asks me. But for right now, this is what I'm doing, and it's what I enjoy the most, although I like to stir the pot a little bit politically in our community. And let's talk about an issue that is, speaking of a political issue in high school athletics, and it also gets people thinking, and I just remember from my own experience, and from also now as a parent, the games have people who come and arbit them, and we know them as officials. Whether it's in baseball, you have referees. Whether it's in football, you have the referees. Did I say baseball has referees? Baseball has umpires. Excuse me. Get this nomenclature correct. But we have people who come and it seemed to me when I was growing up, we had so many folks who did it. We had our base umpires, we had our home plate umpires, we had our football umpires and basketball referees. And I remember when a young guy came, a young Asian American gentleman who grew up here in the hood named Rod Marr. And he was reffing, and then all of a sudden, growing up, we saw Rod Marr's name to the pictures on the Seattle Times. And Rod is an outstanding photographer, and he takes pictures of that, and he works for the Seattle Times, and you've seen a number of Rod's photographs of his work in the Seattle Times newspaper on Seahawks, Huskies, and all sorts of big sporting events in Seattle over the years. And I happened to run into Rod in December, and he was refereeing an O'Day versus Garfield basketball game. I said, "You're still doing this?"
Yeah.
And Rod said, "Juan, man, hey, I'm doing 4, 5, 6 games a weekend." Yeah. Because we're struggling getting guys to do it. Yeah. And Mick, I know that you know us, so I'm just wondering, let's talk about officials for a little bit. First of all, let's just talk about the role of the position and how important it is to high school athletics.
Yeah, I mean, without it, it's basically PE, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to have officials, and we want to have good officials because not only for fair play, but for safety. So officials are a critical piece, no different than coaches and players. So they all have to be that triangle of the equation.
Well, there is a lack of officials right now. I think that is safe to say.
Yep.
The position itself, has it gotten harder over the years? Has it become one where we are seeing good people who come in and try it? And if it is there a reason? Is there a reason why people are saying, "Hey, maybe this I might cut out for this"?
Yeah, I mean, we're up overall about 10% this year, but we're still way behind. So we're still about 1,500 out of 7,000 behind where we were 10 years ago. So we have a ways to go. That being said, the pay, we were 48th in the country, but they got a $15 a game increase this year. So they go do a varsity football game. They're making close to $100 with their travel and all that. And, it takes them, it's 4 hours. So it's $25 an hour.
Right.
It's not, going to make them rich, but it's compensation for their time. So really we're trying to find those folks. The key to us is keeping them. If we can keep them 3 years. So that's what Todd and the team really focus on, is how do they keep somebody for that. So they found ways to help with the cost to get in. They're not charging all the fees they used to charge. They're making used equipment available, especially baseball, softball, where fast pitch, where it's expensive to get in. So they're finding a way to break down costs. I mean, the biggest issue we have right now is behavior. I mean, it's plain and simple behavior. Fans, coaches, players, and I got a great story of what's going on in Spokane with soccer. But you will see us next year continue to take a harder and harder line on bad behavior. So
let's go into that just for a second here, because excuse me, I think it's one of them that was my phone. Ladies and gentlemen, don't jump out of your seats. A telephone went off in the background. Hitting the floor hard, but because I had one of those big cases on it, it absorbed that impact, and I'm sure that it is fine. Let's talk about this for a second. When I got to Highline High School in 2008, and was head coach there, we had set some sort of a record for number of students ejected playing football. And at the first meeting, when I talked to the team, I talked to the team in each grade, I said, that's over with. Yep. And I made it real clear that we weren't going to do that. But I personally believe, and you can agree or disagree, and we can. And I love how we have our sporting conversations in regard to this. But I see the kids looking at what goes on television. I see they see players arguing with referees. I think they see college coaches yelling and screaming and throwing headsets. And some reason they feel that that's an appropriate behavior. Then obviously you're basically putting a standard around the behavior of 14 to 18-year-olds. Yeah. But I told them that we were going to do it my way. We had no players ejected in 4 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Actually, in 5 years that I was there. But the thing was that they certainly had some attitude about it, and they certainly had some lip about it. We had some rules that were in place about certain words that couldn't be used in games. The district, the Metro League had made that clear when I was at Franklin. You weren't supposed to use a specific word in the game anymore. Yeah. And we had some conversations about that with the team that I was there. But how much is this the responsibility of us as adults, making sure that the kids understand that, hey, here's how we are going to respect and treat these guys who are refereeing these games?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the coaches are the key to this. I mean, that's just like you said, you went in there and you had a situation that was out of control. You set clear expectations and you were consistent with how you responded to it, and it changed behavior. I'm a basketball guy, right? You watch the NBA, every call is challenged in some way, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, I guess if you're making millions of dollars, you can have a little more say, I guess, right? But at our level, that's not what we're about. And so coaches are the key to set expectations and then in turn follow those expectations themselves. I mean, most of the time when a coach is having consistent problems, it's a lack of confidence in their own coaching and team. It's a byproduct of that. So then we got to work with the coach to have a little confidence in his and herself. But in Spokane last year in soccer, it was out of control. Soccer officials came and said, look, here's the deal is, if anybody says anything, we're kicking them out. We're not dealing with anything, or we're not doing any games. So we we helped mediate between the schools and the officials. They came up with a reasonable one, but very high standards. You know how many ejections they had this year? Zero ejections because of that. And we had a story where an AD called. He says, you won't believe this. He said, I had a parent. I met him in the parking lot. And he said, he yelled at the official. The official stopped the game, started walking over there, and the coach and the father said, I need to kick myself out before I end this game for my son. And he walked himself out. He policed himself at that point. That's perfect. Like, we're going to get emotional. We're going to say something. But if everybody does it once, twice, 3 times, we've got a huge issue. So I think setting clear expectations like this is not okay, because that's what's chasing these young officials out. They don't get paid enough to get embarrassed and shamed and yelled at for hours at a time. It's not worth it to them. So If we want officials to show up, let's do it.
The 20 years ago, when John Gruden was popular, let's go back to 2001, 2002, when John Gruden had the nickname, was it Chucky?
Yeah.
He had the scowl going on all the time, and there were several times where they would have close-ups of John Gruden's face, and John Gruden would be yelling very, very clearly, reading his lips, cuss words at the officials, and he was this feisty leader, and he's a tough guy, and we see it on Saturdays and Sundays at the professional level of football. We see it in certain basketball coaches who lose their temper at the officials, going all the way back to Bobby Knight, of course, but now they're more suited up, and they look like business professionals yelling and screaming at the referees, and it's almost become an expectation of the fans. I remember becoming the head coach at Highline High School, and my wife Sarah Cotto telling me, if you act like that, we're done with coaching sports. You're not going to do that. And I said, oh, don't worry. That's a part of my ethic not to do that. And when calls went against me, I would take a deep breath. And wonderful officials like Gavin Anderson, for example, we had a blown call situation on a game in Renton, and he explained it to me. And I said, Gavin, I'm really mad, but my wife is telling me I can't blow up. But Gavin said, Juan, look, we messed up. I have to just tell you, we're going to play the down again. We messed up the call.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a lot better way to handle it personally.
Yeah.
But I've been on the other sideline, and I've seen some of my counterparts going nuts and throwing clipboards at a high school game. Yeah. And what are the pressures involved, Mick, when we see our high school coaches losing their cool and yelling and screaming at officials? Once again, none of us are being paid very much to coach, at least in my experience as a coach, and the officials, and we're supposed to be refereeing these games in the best interest of the behavior of our children, and here we can't get it right as our coaches.
Yeah, I mean, it's unacceptable. I mean, I was that insecure, immature coach, so I get how it can happen. But at the same time, as soon as you have somebody you respect tell you, do you realize what you're looking at? I would say, videotape a coach and let him or her watch himself. And that's what you look like, because they probably don't even realize it. I think that would change behaviors more than anything else. But they've totally lost the perspective of why they coach. Like, why are you coaching? Are you trying to positively impact kids? Well, what you're doing isn't doing that. You're actually just doing the opposite. What you're teaching them, like, it's okay to just yell and scream at another person. So how's that any different if they're driving in traffic or in the classroom? I mean, we wouldn't allow that anywhere in our schools. Could you imagine you going into a parent-teacher conference and acting like that? I mean, you're trespass, you're out, you don't get to go back in the school. So why would we allow it to people who are coming to officiate? So I think that's something we've kind of lost. And that's the one place with the proliferation of club sports being based mostly on profit, right? As businesses, we see more of that behavior because it's less. We have to do a better job of helping people understand the difference. I mean, think about this. Do you think an official really gets up in the morning and wants to stick it to a kid or a team? I mean, do you think they really take time off work? I mean, a lot of them use vacation time to leave early, to get to the field or gym in time, to be able to officiate. That's not why they're doing this. Yeah, there are a few bad seeds out there. We'll weed them out quickly. But that's not what they're doing. And I would ask a football coach, have you ever called a blitz where they threw the screen and went 80 on you? Have you ever called, the play in hoops and you're trying to run a man and they're in a zone? Or, like a kid shoots an air ball. We're not yelling and screaming at the kid. So officials are going to make some mistakes. And if we go back and watch Gruden, we go back and watch Bobby Knight, especially in today's age with all the replay and cameras, most of the time they're wrong. What they thought they saw, that didn't happen. And we see it with challenges all the time. Why they only need 1 or 2 challenges a game and most of them don't even use them? Because officials get them right most of the time. It's proportional at the high school level, but it's going to be pretty comparable. So
the aspect of our culture is, it seemed to me, I had parents at one of the schools I was at come and tell me, well, because you weren't yelling at the officials, it looks like you don't care.
Yeah, well,
Is there a cultural expectation that the coach is supposed to be snarling and slamming the headset and going down the clipboard and berating everybody out there?
Yeah, maybe that's if people have if that's the norm or the expectation to show you care, we're in trouble, right? I mean, John Wooden, I heard an official speak one time who officiated John Wooden's games, and he said, you know why he rolled that program up? Because he'd be standing there in his three-piece suit, his crucifix, this mild-looking man, and he'd have that up there, and the stuff he would say that people couldn't hear, you would never guess was coming from John Wooden. He was making his point known of what he thought about the officiating, but not in a demonstrative way. So even that's like, well, at least he's not inciting the crowd, and it looks like he's just having a conversation. He's getting his point across. Is that okay? We could debate that, I suppose. But if the expectation is you got to show up, embarrass, yell at another adult to show that you care about kids, is that what I would ask that same parent? Is that what your significant other has to do? Do they have to yell and scream at you at home to show that they care about that son or daughter that you're here watching? Is that how you do it at home? If you don't do it at home, why is it okay here? Like, competition doesn't have to be confrontational. We can work it out through competition, right? You can beat me and I can still respect you. You beat me the right way, I can respect you still. That's the norm we have to get back to.
And trust me, I had to respect a lot of people because I got beat the right way, I got beat the wrong way, and of course, when you're the coach, it's always your fault at the loss. And the kids never lose, the coaches do. And we ended up we would certainly have our fair share of those. He is Mick Hoffman. He is the executive director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. Knew I would mention it once. And I am Juan Cotto. I am radio voice and personality here at your community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio World, where I'm a Western Oregon grad, the big W, and we're the black shirts today, University of Nebraska. Mick, then there's the third component to all of this. We talked about the players, we talked about the coaches, and now we talk about the seat that I'm sitting in most games nowadays. I am the parent. Yep. And the parents who are there to support us, who technically support their children, and a bad call or a bad play or lack of playing time, so they're already on edge, or excessive playing time and they're on edge, and a bad call comes up and they're ready to climb over the fence and go get the officials. And we've seen this on a variety of different circumstances recently across the country. Parents having altercations with sports officials. Yeah. How do we as an institution work to make sure that our officials who already are getting it from so many sides aren't getting from the parents who think that their kids are going to be NBA players and they're called harm them from getting there?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, again, it goes back to education. This is where we really need the schools to set the expectation with their parents. So you have that freshman fast pitch game on the back field. There's probably not an athletic director there. You have the umpire, you have the two coaches, you have the teams, and a handful of parents. That's where the coach needs to help set the expectation of parents. We hear parents come in, I did as a coach or as an athletic director, that I controlled the playing time of that student. I had all this influence on their student. Well, I'd also have that same influence over the parents. And I could uninvite the parent to come, right? I can make it so they don't have to watch their child if they can't handle meeting our expectations as a school. So one of the things we're working on that we're going to propose to our board is schools are required by rule to have game supervision. We're formalizing what that means. We're detailing it out, meaning that there's a plan that when people hit a threshold that is unacceptable, i.e. screaming at an official, we're not going to, I know Mike did the no boo thing years ago, right? Like you couldn't boo. Essentially, don't single out a kid. Don't use profanity. Don't question the umpire. What good are you doing? I guess I have that question for parents. Half the time, when I'm coaching basketball, I hear, or watching basketball, I hear a parent yell, 3 in the key is they miss a shot, get a rebound, miss a shot. They don't even know the rules. Like the parents, a lot of the loudest ones don't even know the rules. And the ones who do, they will actually talk to that official at a dead ball or say something at the time like, hey, can you just watch him? Every time he crosses over, he's like, they're having a conversation. They're not having to scream it over and over and over and just being loud. So, there has to be a way. Parents love their kids, right? You love Clemente. I love my kids. I love my grandkids. I mean, I care about them, but I also know they're strong enough. If I've done a good enough job as a parent, they can handle a little failure, right? And my job is to teach them how to handle it. If I teach them how to handle it by acting a fool, what am I teaching them to do when they're 20 years old, when they're a parent themselves with their own kids? So I want them to reflect my values for the most part, but and how I respond. And so, yeah, we all get anxious. Heck, I got nervous watching my daughter coach varsity volleyball. It was terrible. Like I had to go stand by myself because I care about her. I love her, right? And so I understand that emotion, but what you do with it is what your child is going to learn is okay from your perspective. And your kids hate it when their parents act like that. I mean, if you have a chance to ask the kids, they hate it. They absolutely hate it. And then they're coaching them in the car on the way home and bad-mouthing kids on their team, that the worst case scenario. So for those parents that aren't doing that, thank you. And what we need are the parents in the stands who are tired of dealing with it to tell other parents, hey, we heard you.
You and I talked about this last week in regards to failure, which I thought was such I'm hoping that we take some of that and we build a little base of some of the shows that we've had and take certain clips out, because I think that was such an important conversation. Have we grabbed? I think the answer is yes, and that's why I was going to ask you: have we crossed the threshold of becoming a country that is only obsessed it's a win at all costs? And we are. I mean, winning. And unfortunately, Vince Lombardi's comment was misinterpreted. Winning isn't everything; it's the only thing. And what Vince Lombardi said, wishes he said was, it's the will to win, because you're not going to win all the time.
Exactly.
So the will to win is so important. But having said that, what can we do? What can we do to pull it back across the line and to be able to? I mean, you never want to accept defeat, but the fact that you step in the arena, the fact that your kid is out there, you are going to win sometimes and you're going to lose sometimes. Yeah. How do we pull it back so the loss isn't viewed as this unbelievably tragic event in someone's life?
Well, it starts with the parents not making it that way for their child, that they let their child know their self-worth and who they are is more important than being able to hit a curveball, right? Like that's not who you are. You are who you are, and I love you, and let's go try this and see how good you can get at it. And the amount of work you put in and your God-given talent are going to equate to whatever your potential is. So I think that's the other piece is we have to celebrate the effort to get there, right? So you made a comment like, hey, does your staff ever do anything like that? Yeah, we try to do that all the time. We try to have fun with each other because, we have some people, everybody's going to show up at some time as the star of the team, right, in a work setting. But at the same time, we got to enjoy the grind together, right, and have fun. So I think we need to do a better job of not just recognizing the champions, but recognizing all those. And trust me, I am not a trophy for everybody. We keep score, we compete. I'll let my grandkids win just because they want to win and feel better. I want them to feel a sense of accomplishment that they played really hard and they got better. We can recognize getting better in addition to winning.
This segment is blown by so quickly, Mick. 2 minutes left. It's a wonderful opportunity to work with kids in the community. It's a wonderful opportunity to serve kids. It's such an important opportunity. If anyone listens to this who is interested in being an official, what do they do?
Yeah, they can go right to our website, WIAA.com. There's a place to sign up, or you go to the WOA, Washington Official Association. There's a QR code. You can pull that off, and they will contact you typically within 4 to 8 hours of whatever sport you say you're interested in. You don't have to be a former player. You don't have to know the rules. If you want to be involved, I mean, what a great place to get into the game. For most of it, you can learn. A lot of the sports you can learn. If you played, you're going to have that natural feel. It might speed up your advancement in the sport, but you can do it without having played.
We've discussed some of the negative aspects of it, but and I could talk for hours about some of the positive aspects of my relationship with Gavin Anderson and a number of Brooks, a number of these guys who've been out and refereed games with us at Highland High School. the lessons that they shared with our kids, the work that they did for us in the community so well. What are some of your positive aspects of being a referee?
Well, if you loved the venue of competition, you're going out there, you're trying to be perfect, right? With the understanding you're going to miss some shots, you're going to miss some swings, you're trying to be perfect. Number two is you're on a team. Like, that's the best thing about sports. I wasn't a big individual sport guy. I was a team sport guy. I love being with my teammates. I love competing. I love getting better. I love the challenge and the grind and telling the stories, and we're good liars 40 years later. I mean, we're a heck of a lot better now than we were back then. But I still have buddies that we get sit around, we talk about those things, whether it was a JV game at Kelso High School or a varsity game, Duke Wallenborn lighting us up. So you get to do that as an official as well. Like, people don't realize, but you're a team out there. So yeah, I think that just being into the competition and on as a part of a team, and you can go to great heights. So
the class of O'Day High School is getting together next week, right next door to the Bellas, and we're going to have a lot of those conversations going on. How great we were at one time. Look, go to the WIAA website. Go to the WOA, the Washington Officials Association. Please, if you are looking at something to do and want to make impact in the community, and I cannot tell you how much impact it will have with kids in our community, please consider, if you enjoy athletics, signing up to be a ref. You get a little tiny bit of money, but you get a great, great, great service for our community. And trust me, let me tell you, we can tell you stories that our community needs it right now. Once again, this is Mick Hoffman. He's the Executive Director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. I'm Juan Cotto, signing off today on WIAA Primetime. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Juan.
Thank you, Mick.